It eats, but here's the deal. It loves water, and we have a little pond. So I've been told, get ready.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. We're going to go ahead and admit them all. Welcome everyone to tonight's technology call with Numi's founder, Stephen K. Scott. For those of you joining for the first time, my name is Keith Chasson. I'll be your host tonight. I got the lovely Phoebe Wallace from Australia, helping me with the tide flow of folks coming into this amazing call tonight. So you still have a couple of seconds, actually maybe probably about a minute to continue inviting. If you got a family member or friend that you may have talked to about this amazing technology and wonderful opportunity of Numi, go ahead and give them a re-invite. Tell them we're just getting started, and we'll crank this off in just a couple of minutes. But just want to tell you a little bit about my background, why we are here excited about to partner with this amazing technology. You know, it was high time that someone developed a way to get glutathione into the cell and bypass the gut. It was such a hostile environment in the gut when it comes to glutathione and any precursors to glutathione. And Steve will kind of talk a little bit about that. And so it was always a dream of mine that somebody would come up and develop a way to do just that, to get it directly into the bloodstream, into the cell quickly, and where it's most effective, efficient for the cell to use. And this is exactly what Steve Scott has done with his team over at Numi. And Jamie and I, my wife, we could not be more excited to be partnered with such an amazing company, amazing technology. And so with no further ado, I want to turn it over to my friend, Stephen Scott, founder of Numi. Stephen, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Keith, and welcome everybody. I'm excited to be here. I was talking to one of my best friends from college. We all met up back in 1969, and he was the offensive center, if you know what that means down under, for Arizona State University's football team. He had just come off of a 3-day LSD trip. So he had been hallucinating all day and everything, and goes back to his dorm room, and just it's a miracle. Gave his life to Christ, and he and I became dear friends, along with his roommate, who had done the same thing, independent of him. And then I started getting to know his girlfriend Marlene, who they ultimately married in 1970. And I just let my wife know, this doesn't mute sound, so this picks up any sounds that we hear in the background. Anyway, so I hadn't talked to Marlene probably for 2 or 3 months, and she and I usually talk at least once a month, but she's been busy, I've been busy, and she is a cancer survivor, and she told me that her daughter-in-law had just had a third of her lung removed right before Thanksgiving. They had found a lump in the lung, and it turns out it wasn't cancer, thankfully. And she's slowly recovering. But I know that background noise distracts me. No, that's to my wife. She's now laughing. Am I even picturing here? Oh, there I am. Yeah. And I told her a little bit about the biology of the lung. And that is the lining of the lungs are glutathione rich. And part of that is the dynamic exercise of the lung. Like the heart, the lung never stops. It's always exercising. Exercise always creates oxidative stress. Oxidative stress creates free radicals, and then the free radicals create more oxidative stress, and the more oxidative stress create more free radicals, and it's a self-feeding cycle that's not a good cycle. And so God created your lungs glutathione rich. Here, let me just deal with this pop-up here that says my language is Indonesian, and it's not, it's English. I wish I could speak Indonesian. But anyway, anytime the lung is traumatized, and it can be any lung disorder, it can be COPD, it can be fibrosis, it can be cystic fibrosis, it can be pulmonary fibrosis. Anytime the lung has to work harder to get enough oxygen into the bloodstream, it uses up glutathione at a faster rate. And without glutathione, it can't survive and it can't stay healthy. Now, it's not going to deplete itself totally of glutathione, but it's going to have less and less. And so I told her the neat thing about our product is it increases both the absorption of glutathione and the absorption of the amino acid that recycles glutathione. So one glutathione molecule gets recycled over and over and over again by cysteine. And we get both cysteine and glutathione system-wide throughout the body: heart cells, brain cells, lung cells, muscle cells, joint cells. And glutathione, for those of you that don't know, performs over 400 functions in the body. Without glutathione, there's no life on Earth. No plants, trees, people, animals, birds, fish, anything. Everything dies very quickly, in spite of the fact that there's oxygen. So when they say, well, there may be a little bit of a little bit of water on Mars, so there must have been life there. Maybe there was life there. Water itself doesn't support life. Doesn't make life. You have to have glutathione. And so anyway, our glutathione levels decline very significantly starting at the age of 20. And they decline at the rate of 8 to 15% per decade. Now, the desperate need for glutathione as the primary defender of the cell and the detoxifier of the cell never goes down, but the amount of glutathione does go down. The need to perform all 400 functions never goes down. It remains up here while glutathione levels go down. Without glutathione, there's no oxygen transfer, so you're dead pretty quick, within minutes. That need for oxygen transfer never goes away. So basically, we're defensively fighting battles with fewer bullets. Every cell in the body is attacked 10 to 20,000 times a day by free radicals. A free radical is a thief. It's a scavenger officially, but it steals an electron of the cell. And when that does it, it creates a reaction with the oxygen. It creates what's called oxidative stress, which is too much oxygen for the cell to process. That process, even metabolism, cellular metabolism, creates tens or thousands and thousands of free radicals every day. And so the free radical steals electrons, that damages the cell, that creates more oxidative stress, which creates inflammation in the cell, and it accelerates the aging of the cell. Two things you don't want. Now, anybody I had asthma as a child, and I remember when I get asthma, trying to breathe in, but I wasn't getting enough oxygen, And back then we didn't have the little puffers. All we had was vaporizers. So you turn on the vaporizer, There are so many things we depend on, our lungs. And the harder our lungs work, the lower the reservoir of glutathione in the lining of the lungs. The lower the lining, the harder the lungs have to work. So that too is a self-feeding cycle. So I told Marlene about this, and I said, look, I'm going to send you a couple bottles for your daughter-in-law. I said, if you told me she was fighting cancer right now, I wouldn't be quick to send them out. But the fact that she just wants lung function, needs lung function, this will aid in restoring glutathione levels, which will allow the lung to be more efficient, and consequently, it won't have to work as hard to process the moving oxygen into the bloodstream. And so I'm going to send her some. Now, isn't it interesting? I haven't talked to her for maybe 4 or 5 months. That's the first thing she tells me. And instantly there's an application. Now, glutathione is not a medication. It doesn't diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any disease, but it deals with oxidative stress. Glutathione deals with oxidative stress better than all other antioxidants combined. In fact, it's 1,000,000 times more powerful than all the other antioxidants combined. It's the most studied molecule in medicinal science. Currently, 188,000 published studies on glutathione. If you pulled all the studies out of PubMed that were on vitamin C, vitamin E, CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, catalase, and the other antioxidants, they wouldn't equal the 180,000 studies on glutathione. And there's another 150,000 studies on one of the amino acids that makes up glutathione. Glutathione is made up of 3 amino acids, L-cysteine, glutamic acid, and glycine. The L-cysteine, there's 150,000 studies on that. That's how important biochemists and molecular biologists and medicinal chemists know glutathione is. It's that study. The problem with glutathione is it can't get through the gut. You can go to any health food store and buy glutathione capsules. I saw them online just the other day. Problem is, as soon as that glutathione hits the gut, the acid in the gut and some of the hormone situations that the gut creates instantly break the molecule. And your cells, even though the blood will transport broken molecules, the cells will not accept the broken molecules. And as a result, those little glutathione capsules aren't going to do you a lot of good. Now, to get around that, some people wrap those molecules in fat. Now, if this is a glutathione molecule and I wrap it in fat, guess what? The particle size is now bigger. And that's too big for most cells. And it'll still get into some cells, but it's too big for most. Now, that'll get it through the stomach, but what good is it getting it through the stomach if it can't be absorbed into the cells themselves? The average human cell is only 100 nanometers, 100 billionths of a meter in diameter. The pore size is only 10 nanometers. Now, if we, by comparison, but next time you drop a strand of hair, look at it, that is 80,000 nanometers thick. And we got to somehow get under 10 nanometers. That's the breakthrough of the hydrostat technology. Now, we don't broadcast that and we don't tell it because that can become a claim. We don't want to make claims. So we don't acknowledge that we're 10 nanometers or smaller. But the truth is that we get into the cells and we see the results anecdotally. One of our distributors is an equestrian rider, competitor, trainer, has 7 horses of her own, plus she boards horses of other athletes. And there are now about 2,000 horses just in Calgary, Canada on our product. And they've done a vet study up there that shows the biochemical reactions and how unbelievable the results of this is with horses. Well, guess what? That same chemistry is in you and me. The same blood markers for oxidative stress that they look at in horses are the same markers for oxidative stress that we look at in humans. And the impact, I mean, the study is phenomenal. It's revolutionary. We can't distribute it. It hasn't been published yet. Once it's published, we still can't. It's for veterinaries. But we can give out highlights from the abstract. The abstract itself is 46 pages. That's huge for an abstract. Most abstracts are 20 pages or less. And but anyway, so we are the answer, I believe, for Marlene's daughter-in-law. I think she will experience structure, function, improvement more rapidly if she starts using our product. My wife had a hip replacement a few months ago, and she had full range of motion and full recovery in a fraction of the time that is normal. And she's 65 or 66. I'm 76. And the doctors or the physical therapists were shocked. Well, she was swishing at least twice a day. What is swishing? We have a product. Instead of trying to get through the stomach, it enters the bloodstream as you swish it like a mouthwash and leave it under your tongue. So when I wake up in the morning, the minimum is 30 seconds, but I wake up in the morning before I do anything else. I pour the applicator, which is basically 2 teaspoons or 2 capfuls. I do that. And now we have an applicator that comes with the bottles. Just fill that applicator, drop it in, and I swish while I'm putting my contacts in, except while I'm actually moving the contact in, I just hold it under my tongue, put it down, open up another one, swish, 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 hold it. Then I get in the shower, I shave. When I'm shaving, as soon as I'm done shaving, doing my hair. So all in all, I probably swish for about 2.5, 3 minutes. I am good for the day. I'm 76 years old. I've been up this morning since about 8 o'clock. And my energy level is awesome. And yet it's not artificial energy. It's not energy caused by caffeine where you have a spike and a crash. You just don't run down. You don't notice it. And if you do run down, you put in another serving of swish, and you swish again, and it brings you right back mentally and physically, and it will not cause you not to sleep. We did a 4-month test with the United States Air Force with a security team. They have 12-hour shifts. They were living on energy drinks to get through their, and you say, oh, what's wrong with that? Way wrong. It causes, the military has shown, which is why we were testing with them, that it significantly increases PTSDs, anxiety disorders, sleep disorders, and long-term cardiovascular disorders. But it's the only way their people can get through their deployments and through their, so it was a 4-month test with no prompting whatsoever. They were off all their energy products by the 4th day. Same thing happened with the trucker study. And they still had their morning coffee. I love coffee, so I still have a morning coffee sometimes. Sometimes I have a morning right from the doctor. It's a health drink called Dr. Pepper. And for those of you that aren't in America, it's a soda, but it's sugar-free, and I love it since I was about 11 years old when it had sugar. So, but usually it's coffee in the morning, and I like the taste of coffee, and it doesn't interfere with my swish. I don't get jittery. Look, see, 76, and pretty still considering I've been up for so long. And but glutathione is your body's miracle molecule. It performs 400 functions. Oxygen transfer wouldn't happen without it, because the iron in the hemoglobin molecule oftentimes has the wrong charge. It's charged at a +3. It needs to be reduced to a +2. The only reduction agent for the iron in hemoglobin is glutathione. It is the primary detoxifier of the cell. All of us, everybody on this call has at least 200 industrial chemicals in your body right now that aren't meant to be there. Glutathione, the cysteine portion of glutathione is, remember, it's 3 amino acids. The cysteine portion has this little sulfhydryl arm right here. And that sulfhydryl arm sticks to the chemical and then neutralizes it, gets it out of the cell. So it is the detoxifier of the cells. It's also the chelator of the cell. We get heavy metals through our air, our water, our food. A man who sold 100 million books, an author, had mercury poisoning, and nothing Harvard did was able to lower the toxicity in 6 months. They said, you're going to die. He got on one of my glutathione products that wasn't near as effective as this one. And 60 days later, he was back at Harvard and his mercury level was 0. So glutathione is a glorious chelator of the cell. Now, it accelerates recovery from athletic expenditure. So if you work out, we tell athletes swish 5 to 10 minutes before the workout and immediately after the workout. It'll cut recovery time by 70–80% normally. You don't typically, after 1 or 2 days, for me, after first day, you don't get sore. And one of the doctors on our medical board, Dr. Osorio, is an orthopod, has 19 or 20 now sports medicine clinics throughout Europe. Most of their clients are professional athletes or world-class amateur athletes. 2 of his clients finished 2nd and 3rd in last year's marathon world championship. And he discovered through testing that for a conditioned runner, we delay the onset of lactic acidosis. Normally, their body would start producing lactic acid in the 12th kilometer. If they swish our product, it doesn't start producing it till the 14th kilometer. I said, is that good? He said, is that good? We've never been able to move the needle even 1%. You're moving at 16%. He said, it's the biggest game changer in athletic performance and recovery we've ever seen. And all their athletes want to be on it. He was just in the United States, I think, last week. So we do all these things. What does that mean to us non-athletes? It means I want to have full function mentally and physically, get through every day feeling great instead of, can't wait to get in bed. I'm so, I don't want to fall asleep in meetings, boring meetings. And so I am able to avoid most of them, but every now and then they call me into a meeting. And they're important for the staff. But I have a great staff. I don't need to hear any of that stuff because we got a great executive team that does everything. So anyway, our breakthrough, besides getting glutathione and cysteine there, is our technology called Hydrostat. And it works on lots of things. So we have other products. We found out through an athlete's accident that we were remarkable for skincare. I've owned 5 cosmetic companies. I loved makeup because you had great before and afters. I loved hair care. I had Sharon Hair Care, the singer, years ago, decades ago. And I loved hair care because you could get great before and afters. Skincare, before and afters, until Botox came along, was next to impossible. And some acne prescriptions. So I didn't like skincare, but I owned the companies and sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of skincare. Well, when I saw what happened to this athlete, her face, she hit the pavement at 22 miles an hour, her face, abrasions, road rash. She was 3.5 days in the hospital. The plastic surgeon on the first day said, this is going to take 5 to 6 weeks to clear, and then you're going to have to wait 60 days, come in, and then we'll develop a protocol for your scars. I got a picture the day after the accident of her face, and then every day after that. Well, she gets home on Tuesday night, accident was on Saturday, and she thinks, hey, this stuff is nano, so maybe it'll help heal from the outside. It had changed her performance level, huge change. So she put some on a cotton ball, applied it to her face. Then she did it once on Tuesday night when she got home, 3 times Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. By Sunday, her face was completely clear, not a single mark, not a scar. The plastic surgeon had never seen anything like it. I had never seen anything like it. So I thought we may have the world's best skincare. So we went ahead, put some in spray bottles, sent them out. I told women, spray your face 5 times a day for 8 weeks, and let's see what kind of before and afters we get. Because usually the before and afters, you can, why don't you Google search Estee Lauder before and afters, or Estee Lauder skincare before and afters, or L'Oreal, same thing, or Neutrogena skincare before and afters. You click, and then you hit on the word images, and up come all these before and afters. And this will be you looking at those before and afters. I think I see a difference between that one and that one. Oh, I'm not sure. Oh, look, they circled the before and afters of this one. Okay, yeah, that mark's missing in the after. That's how close you have to look at it. That's not an exaggeration. You see our before and afters. You don't have to squint. You don't have to lean forward. We don't have to use red circles. Keith, let's show them the first before and after that came back. Now, when this came back, here we go. Look at this. Okay, that's Sherry Warner. This was in 2018, summer of 2018. And I sent that to my former formulator, who was president of the American Society of Cosmetic Chemists. He had become the head formulator for the company that created Botox, Allergan. And he called me right away, Steve, I hate to tell you, she had a facelift. I said, John, she hasn't. He said, oh, yes, she has. There's no skincare product in the world that can do that. Botox can't do it. Look how much tighter her skin is. Look how it opened up her eyes. Look at how much bright. She's had a facelift. I don't know how you got it brighter. I guess maybe there's a lighting change. I said, no lighting change. He said, well, how did you do it? So I told him, he said, well, you've got something nobody else has. Yeah, let's prove it. Let's go to the next one. That's the next year I decided to spray my right hand and not my left hand. I sprayed it 4 to 5 times a day for 12 weeks. You don't need a red circle to figure out the difference between the right and the left. Next. This lady's 84. I said, how many times did you spray your face? She said, I kept spray bottles all over the house. Every time I passed, when I sprayed, look at her neck, look at her chin, look at her mouth. And that's in 4 weeks. There's nothing in the world that can do that, folks. And I could tell you the biochemistry on how we do it, but then we'd make claims and then I'd get in trouble. So I won't, but I understand it. Next. This is another 80-year-old in Greece, and 80 plus. And she said, I had old lady legs and now they're young lady legs. That was 10 weeks. Next. This was an esthetician, a skincare specialist in Miami, Florida. She owned her own salon. She said, Steve, Ryan, I can't wait 8 weeks. This is 8 days. Look at the difference. Look how much brighter my skin is. Look how it opened up my eyes. Where did my pores go? Look how smooth my face. There's nothing that does this. I said, I know. Next. This lady was 60 years old when Aaron and I met her. We couldn't believe it. That's after 1 month, but look after 6 months. She looked like she was 42 to 45, and I'm pretty good at guessing ages because I cast over 1,000 extras for different of our films and productions when I was back in Hollywood. And so I got pretty good at aging. Plus I have 17 grandkids from newborn, a month old to 24. So I've seen it. Anyway, she looked like she was in her early 40s, and that was 6 months. Next. 67, look at the brighter. These are words you need to write down. Brighter, tighter, younger looking, smoother. Those are the key words that describe what happened. And they happen to men just as well as to women. Next. Okay, next. I skip over some of these because we got a lot to get through. Okay, this young woman, she didn't have much wrong with her skin, you see, but her pores were minimized. Her face looks much smoother, healthier. She has what we call a peaches and cream complexion in the after. That's something we worked at with makeup to give that kind of look. That cost us millions of dollars. It was called the no makeup makeup. But man, to get that without makeup, that's pretty crazy. Next. She's 83. She was the first lady's mother that we showed you, Sherry Warner's mom, and that was in 3 weeks. Next. This lady's in her 60s. She was a smoker. Smoking is really damaging to the skin. And look at that. That was after 8 weeks. Next. Okay, I like this one. Her daughter's a doctor, gave her the product. She's in her 80s. She's had a melanin management problem. Her whole life has had that upper half of her face darker. And guess what? Look at how much brighter it became. That's unbelievable. Sundown, this guy, thank you. He's 94. Now look at the difference. At 94, by nature, you're not actually starting at about the age of 30, a person's body starts producing less elastin, which is what tightens your skin, less collagen, which plumps it out. Look at that, 94, that's 8 months. Now, he said the good news is, he says, as good as my before and after are, he says, I feel more like the guy on the right instead of the guy on the left. And that's what I love most. Okay. And this is the last one. I met her in Hungary, and she is 87. And that was 7 weeks spraying her face 5 times a day. And she also swished. Look at that. You can't, even plastic surgery would have a hard time making that look smooth. Okay, back to me. Now, the reason we show you before and afters is that the biochemical action that makes that difference on the outside of your skin is the same biochemical activity that takes place in your heart with glutathione, your brain, your kidneys, your esophagus, your whole body, your joints, your muscles. In fact, this horse study showed that with horses, we mitigated, I'm looking for the right words, we mitigated anabolic resistance. Anabolic resistance, as you age, exercise and protein is unable to produce the level of lean muscle tissue that it produced when you were younger. And that happens with horses. Well, guess what? In the horse study, they actually measured that, and the glutathione started producing more lean muscle. They were blown away, and they documented it to the milligram in the study. I told that to one of our doctors, and he said, hey, we do the same thing in humans. So pretty cool, because I'm 76 and I need more lean muscle. Do you know lean muscle burns calories 24 hours a day? So when you build lean muscle, unlike aerobic exercise is great, but it burns the calories while the exercise is going on. So if you do an hour of walking, great. And then an hour after that, there's no additional production of lean muscle or burning of calories. On the other hand, through strength and resistance training, you build lean muscle, and that lean muscle is like a furnace. It just keeps on burning even after you've done the exercises 24/7. So if you had your choice, you would do lean muscle is most important, but aerobic's good. Aerobic's good. We did a test. Turns out aerobic affects 8 of the 12 biomarkers that we measure in aging and strength and so on. Strength resistance training impacts all 12 biomarkers, cardiovascular markers, neurological markers, and so on. So that's what you want. Anyway, we finished on time here, ahead of time. But since we only have, we have a smaller group today, probably due to the holidays and so on. So if anybody has a question they'd like to ask, you can either put it in the chat to Keith, or you can raise a yellow hand. I don't know, where is that thing they touch to raise the hand mechanically? Do you know, Keith?
Yes, it's under the react button. When they click the react, they can click a button that says raise hand.
Where's the react button?
Should it be at bottom right on my screen? It's right next to
react. Okay, yes. The little looks like an alarm clock. It's 1, 2, 3, 4th from the left. If you click on that, it raises a hand and you can ask a question, and we'll take 5 or 6 minutes to answer some questions.
Anyone have any questions for Steve tonight? Now's the time.
Going once, going twice. I'll tell you something else it did with horses if we don't get a question. This was considered miraculous. Now, Phoebe used to be a big horse rider. She isn't anymore, but when she was 16, She was riding a horse. Were you jumping it or just riding it, Phoebe? Can you remember? Oops, you need to unmute. Keith, can you make it possible for her to unmute?
Yes. She should be able to. She's a co-host.
Just turn your volume up.
Gotta turn your phone on. Unmute. Yeah, turn your audio on. Are you able to, Phoebe? There we go.
Hello.
Hello. Were you just riding or were you jumping? How did the horse fall on top of you?
I was riding over fences and the horse slipped.
Wow. So you were jumping over a fence.
Yes, and when she hit the ground, she came down on her hindquarters, her legs went to the side, her hind legs went to the side, and she sat down and I fell backwards and she rolled over on top of me.
And broke your back.
Yes.
So Phoebe basically pretty much had a lifetime of pain you struggled against, true or false?
Yes, and when I started glutathione supporting, the discomfort and the inflammation totally reduced.
That's why we do what we do. And every day, inflammation is our mortal enemy. It opens the door to 78 disease classes that one study says raising glutathione would close those doors, or at least make the passageway more narrow. Dr. Oz said it like this. He said, glutathione is the most important antioxidant you've never heard of. It's what helps protect you from the diseases you fear the most. He was a Harvard heart surgeon who had his own TV show here in America. Yes, Christopher Reeves, he broke his neck going over a fence. It's a dangerous sport, man. We've seen horses. They showed us pictures of horses. One horse had his whole chest wall opened up, and it was supposed to take him out of actively competing for at least 9 months to a year. He was back in the competition ring in 3 months. They were using both topical spray in accelerating the recovery as well as the swish. Now, how do you teach a horse to swish? I've been asked that question. The answer is real simple. Everybody here knows what network marketing is. You teach one horse to swish, then he gets it down and he teaches 2 of his best friends. Then they teach 2 of their best friends, and before you know it, horses in a corral, they all know how to swish. No, you don't. You take a syringe that doesn't have a needle, and you put 10 to 25, depending on if the horse is competing that week, you put 10 to 25 cc's in the syringe, and you slowly, over a 30 to 60 second period, squirt it onto their tongue. They want to get it off their tongue, so they massage their mucosa like that, and they do the same thing we do by swishing. It enters the bloodstream through the mucosa, and it makes a difference. I'll give you one difference that's life-changing for a horse owner. After an exercise expenditure, a big exercise expenditure, a horse race, an equestrian event, a polo match, you name it, it takes 30 minutes. Their horse will go up to 200 to 300% faster than their resting heart rate. And it takes at least a half an hour to bring that resting heart rate down to normal, or bring that accelerated rate down to the resting heart rate. Half an hour. During that half hour, they're at high risk for heart attack, AFib, stroke, stomach turning upside down, colic, which can kill a horse. And so they want to get that heart rate back to normal as fast as they can, but they haven't been able to beat 30 minutes. When they would give the horse our product right before the event and immediately after the event, the heart rate would come down to a normal rate within 2.5 to 5 minutes. They consider that miraculous. But that was universal. They tested 50 horses, 29 without, 29 with. The 29 with, that was the case in every case. That's what you have in your hand. Does it impact humans? Oh my gosh, do we impact humans? We've had millions of servings. The stories we hear, the pictures we see, just are unfathomable. And so we can give it to people on confidence. Yes, we see a hand. Keith?
That's my hand.
Okay.
I got a question. Because of a comment in the comments, Cheryl Ramus says she had spoke to an orthopedic specialist yesterday and told the individual about Bill Gillespie. His reaction: impossible, has to be genetic disposition. So I would gather that you were just mentioning anabolic resistance. Would the fact that the intracellular glutathione being increased before and during, or maybe before and after a workout, could that have helped him beat that anabolic
He
resistance?
does that all the time. In fact, you can show him the video that's online, just Numi weightlifter, and then you can tell him what happened after that. And Keith, you got the photographs on his chart. His problem was he set the world record in the bench press at the age of 49 in 2008. In 2018, his lift was down to 700 and actually we say 725, but it was really down to about 715 pounds. And he had been working out back in his prime when he set that first world record. He had been heavy lifting 4 times a week. So there you have it. You see at 49, it was 804 pounds. For those of you on the metric system, that, okay, let's see again. 804 pounds to kilos. 364 kilos. And then as he went from 49 to 59, he could only lift heavy. Instead of 4 times a week, he got down to 1 time a week. That's all he could do. And he blamed it on loss of lean muscle and slow recovery. Well, we impact both. So now show the rest of the story. That's when he started on our product. He went from 725 pounds at 59 to 1,050 pounds at 60, 1,129 pounds at 62 in 2022 when he retired. That's 512 kilos that he went up to. 40% more than he lifted when he was at his peak in his prime. Now, what had happened? Well, oxidative stress went down, corresponding inflammation went down. His recovery time shortened and his lean muscle increased. And the result was he could lift heavy 4 to 5 times a week again. Plus, he was lifting with glutathione enhancement, which means his body can reverse or mitigate the oxidative stress that causes the anabolic resistance. Sorry, your guy doesn't know what we know. If she ever wants to get him on a call with me, we've got, I don't know how good he is, but we've got one of the world's top orthopedic sports medicine doctors in the world that has measured all this stuff biochemically. And the horse study supports all of that. In fact, it takes it even greater measures of biochemistry that takes place, even in the skeleton muscle. The skeletal muscle is the hardest to improve, and it improved, and they proved it in the horse study. We don't even measure it, but they did. So, sorry, not all doctors are created equal. Not all scientists have the same discovery at the same time. And he obviously hasn't read the studies that I've read that are right there on PubMed. But thankfully, we have our own sports medical doc on our advisory board, and he's one of the world's top. He's amazing, which is why pro athletes go to him. Pardon?
Good news is, I believe he's going to attend our January practitioner call.
Oh, good, good. Just let me know. Yep. And we'll get into great detail on some of these findings. They'll be published by then. Any other questions? Going once?
Nope.
Oh, no hands, right?
Nope.
Oh, there's a hand. My sweet friend, Jacqueline. Go ahead. Jackie Gimmel. She needs to be unmuted.
There we go.
Thank you.
There you
Sorry,
go.
I couldn't find my laptop's behaving badly. I had just one last question. There was someone in particular, an MMA athlete that I particularly wanted to introduce to and I was thinking of the NutraSwish, but obviously the Neuro. And I know that we swish the NutraSwish for the, short time. What is that the same as the Neuro, or are you able just to have the Neuro after you've used your NutraSwish?
You can, in fact, we encourage people to use them both.
Yeah.
But for what he needs to do, if he has an event, he swishes a couple times the day before, or 2 or 3 times the day before. The day of the event, he swishes 10 minutes before the event. And then anytime during the event, during the breaks, he can swish again if he wants to. We have endurance athletes swish every hour. So if you've got an 8-hour event, you swish right before the event, 10 minutes before the event. You swish every hour of the event, and you swish immediately after the event.
Okay.
And we've had jiu-jitsu champions, MMA fighters, mixed martial arts, and you name it. We've had athletes. We've had gold medalists, people that have gotten gold medals in Olympics.
Wow.
They
I think
to swish.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. You're making me excited. I think the fact that we were, because I'm in New Zealand, Neuro was introduced later. So I was excited that because of perhaps the injuries that these type of athletes suffer, that they would benefit, they would find the added benefit
It will add to it, but far more important is NutraSwish, honestly, for recovery. It has a lot more glutathione and cysteine in it, which are critical for the neural pathways. But at the same time, he can add to that. In fact, before an event, he probably ought to add to it and do the Neuro, because it will improve his focus for sure. Mental focus goes up with it. Keith, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's exactly what I was thinking too. And Darianne did add a little bit on the previous topic of horses. She mentioned that she has been working with so there's many studies that have been done for years on glutathione in horses. I have worked with glutathione in my equine and canine breeding and animal holistic healing programs for many years, and have found this NutraSwish is a wonderful, wonderful product for them.
Yeah. One of the biggest manufacturers in the world has a glutathione product. Nothing here. Let me go a different route. One of the top vets in the world has used every glutathione product out there and actually drew the conclusion nothing worked, because with the animals that he worked with, and he's kind of a household name between you and me, and here in the United States, when he heard how our pathway for the glutathione, mainly going through the bloodstream instead of going into the stomach, he got excited and tried it. Not only did he see a difference with him and his wife, he saw a huge difference with the animals from anything he'd ever used before. There are other animal glutathione products. They do not use hydrostat. Which is one reason we're being looked at by animal companies in a very big way. So any others? But that's good to hear that she's seeing the same thing that every other vet is seeing.
Yep. Nope.
There's
I think
2,000 horses on the product right now.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
I won't tell you, at some polo matches, they're selling the product for $240 a unit. A $50 bottle, a $65 bottle. Because the demand is so great.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Okay, I think we've called it a night. Everybody was patient and stayed on the whole time. But next week, let's have a bigger group so we can grow this group. I'll commit to being on it if you will. And most of the familiar faces are on it every week, and I appreciate that. We don't take anybody for granted. We are committed to you and to our NUMMI family in every way that we can be. The world has gone through tremendous wow, there goes a COVID moment. Through tremendous inflation in the past 4 years. And we have done everything we can to keep the product price down, which means we make a little bit less because raw ingredients go up, packaging goes up, but we're doing what we can. And, but just know that we consider you our NUMMI family, and we're committed to you and to your family. I've had people say to me, we've had employees every now and then will come to us and say, I'm changing jobs. And my answer is always, do what's best for your family. That's what we care about. Do what's best for your family. And it's the same thing with our field. So God bless you. And I think we're done. Keith and Phoebe, thank you for making this possible tonight. I couldn't do it on my own. I don't even know how to do the slides. And I do know how to admit people, but it does tremendously distract me when the little thing comes on my screen. I almost panic that I got to quickly admit them, and then I can't remember what I was talking about. So
that's why I don't make you a co-host, because I don't want you seeing those.
Thank you. I'm going to go say hi to our new dog. I can't believe my wife did this. I thought we were done with animals. We kind of both agreed when we got rid of my last dog. And what was sad, he was too much energy. Have any of you ever owned a Border Collie or an Aussie, Australian Shepherd? Those guys, do you know you're supposed to exercise them 8 miles a day? I didn't know that. So I took him into the office, and then he and I'd go on a walk twice a day. And but he was too much energy, and he would jump on people, and my wife's parents are older, and she'd be embarrassed when they would jump on somebody at the crotch level, and men would buckle over. So we said goodbye to Joey. And I haven't had a dog for probably almost 2 years now. So I can't wait to go meet this one, but she's a little skittish. She was afraid of me. I came in with one of those great big insulated coats on. So I think she was afraid, but now I'll go on and see if I can get her a good treat and her not be afraid of me.
Go make some friends.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Have a wonderful time, and we will talk to you all later. We do a Wednesday. Keith, I guess they're kept appraised on the calls. We have members night once a week. We have training calls. We have a lot of stuff in your back office, and we do this call once a week, and we do a European well, it's mainly France and Greece, but it's any European that wants to join, noon on Wednesday, noon
Yes.
Mountain Time.
Yep.
So 6 hours prior to this time that we start. Okay, nighty night.
Perfect.
Good night.
Good night, Steve.
Love
Thank you
you
so much.
all.
Y'all have
Thank
a
you.
great night.
It's good friends. Miss Greg and Prue tonight. I hope they're okay. Are
Good
they?
night, everyone. Have a